Thanks very much for joining us for episode 30 of InTek Freight and Logistics, the podcast. I'm Kevin Baxter, and I'm joined by my co-host for this edition, InTek President Shelley Austin. On this episode, we're talking TMS with a company that puts it to work for them. Let's get started. The right TMS, or transportation management system, can make a big difference, helping with just about every aspect of a company's day-to-day freight shipping operation. One business that has seen the right TMS help it to maintain growth even in the face of rough times for many in the industry is PFL Logistics. To talk about the company and how they use TMS, we welcome Rachel Johnson, Director of Operations for Rex & Companies, of which PFL is a part. Rachel, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for the invite. Glad to be here.
Before we get rolling on the TMS topic, tell us a little bit about PFL and Rex & Companies.
Yeah, so PFL is our 3PL leg of our Rex & Companies brand of companies, I guess you'd say. And it really kind of evolved out of watching trucks come in and out of our warehouse. We're housed in the same building as a cold storage facility. So PFL started about 7 years ago. Dylan Rexing, our president and CEO, was looking out his window and he could see all these trucks coming in and out of our facility and decided, we could help those customers and take care of booking those appointments. And PFL was born. Started out with 3 people and now we're at over 30, I think. So it's just part of kind of our supply chain. Like I said, it started with the warehouse, moved into 3PL, and then later on kind of evolved into getting our own carrier, our own assets to kind of complement those services. And here we are today.
Awesome. Rachel, it fascinates me how much you know about the company, the industry, and everything. And you gave us a little bit of history of PFL, but tell us a little bit about your history, because it seems like you wear a lot of hats in the company and juggle a lot of moving parts. So excited to hear more about kind of your history with the company and what's a typical day for you.
One thing I tell a lot of people is I am never bored with my job. I don't know if I really have a typical day because I don't know that I've ever had 2 days that have been the same, especially back to back. So that's always a fun part of my day. But I've been with PFL, with the Rex & Companies, a little over 7 years now. And prior to that, had absolutely no, knowledge or even exposure to transportation, to what even a freight brokerage was. Supply chain didn't mean that much to me at the time, so it was a complete learning curve for me. So PFL was still fairly young when I started, obviously. So being able to watch it grow and learn all the nuances to it as that growth went on is really kind of where I've gained any knowledge about it. But a typical day for me within the scope of PFL is helping our users maximize use in the system, getting customers built in the system, just trying to make everything work well for our people so that they can do their job to the best that they can.
Excellent. Well, I know that, a lot of people don't really understand the back office and everything that's involved in transportation and logistics. So quick question for you is, with all those moving parts, because I know you have a hand in finance and operations and just about everything. And we all, as we started this wonderful world of logistics, I think we all got adapted to the Excel way of life. And we use a lot of email, and I think people just live on email and Excel and phones and so on and so forth. So how does a TMS kind of assist you in that and help you with those moving parts?
I could not imagine doing this job with Excel alone. I know, like I said, when I got started, PFL was already, in operation. But I have heard stories that when you first start and you have just a few loads to manage, Excel worked and it did the job that you needed. But, having the organization that a TMS provides for you, it's not a cookie cutter process. Everything doesn't start at 7 a.m. and you have, a check call at 10 a.m. and all loads are at the same place at 10 a.m. And you have so many moving parts that having that TMS help you organize, this batch of trucks is picking up at 7 a.m. This batch of trucks should already be delivered and you need to check on that. And then even getting into the accounting side of it, I cannot imagine not having that organization that a TMS just helps keep your sanity.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Well, you mentioned, starting at 3 and now you're over 30. How does that help as well, bringing in, expanding the staff, expanding the footprint and everything, having that system already in place?
I think to some degree, having the information, having the support of others, in how to do their job better. We have new people that are coming in who may not have ever worked in logistics before, and having, again, going back to that organization that a TMS provides, helps that new broker, that new account manager to be able to provide the best service for their customer. So as we grow and, everybody kind of finds something new every day, it seems like that, it's like, oh, I could do this in here and this takes care of this part that I don't have to worry about doing myself. It does it for me. Having that definitely helps bring on the growth at a faster rate.
Rachel, how long have you guys been on the MercuryGate TMS software?
I think we're going on about 4 years now.
That's awesome.
I was trying to figure that out the other day, but I think we're going on around 4 years.
That's excellent. And when you were in the process of selecting TMS applications, what were kind of the factors that you were looking at with all the different applications that you were comparing, and kind of what made, you guys lean and select with the MercuryGate software?
Definitely the look and feel of MercuryGate it seemed more adaptable from the previous TMS that we had. At that point, I know 4 years doesn't sound like that long ago, but in technology, the scope of technology, that could have been eons ago. And the TMS that we had at the time was server based, and, trying to decide, for security reasons, is it safe to go to a web-based model? Are we limited in data capacity? But we decided to go with a web-based version, and then also wanted to be able to have a system that was compatible with our accounting software, really. We do have other, sister companies, and having all of the financial data to be able to be seen together, that was also something that was real important. One thing that MercuryGate does do is, allows for a lot of customization. So you may have different needs for different customers, but the overall workflow isn't really altered. So you can do that customization, and it kind of works in the background without having to really alter the workflow of processing your freight, your loads, and everything else. So that's kind of what we were looking at when we decided to land with MercuryGate is, what does it help us do better?
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned a couple of things there, Rachel, that jumped out at me. And one of the things that I found interesting is you were looking at an application that could integrate well with other applications, some that you maybe already had in-house. But, as you were going through the process, you knew that you were going to grow. So it's good to have a TMS that has kind of that open API structure to where you can do different integrations, different attachments, things that as we go, like you mentioned, you get one technology and 2 weeks later it's out of style, right?
Right.
So there's always something new that's coming up, and to have a core structure TMS where you can adopt and add the newest technology and continue to grow in a company. It sounds like you guys were very in the forefront of thinking about that for growth. And so in light of that, one of the most challenging things about a software, at least in my experience, is the implementation. I think you get a little bit more gray hairs, or maybe lose some hairs. I'm not sure which. It depends on the person.
Yeah. Maybe both, maybe one or the other.
Yes, I would agree. So
if you looked at my hair color, you would think I've aged more than 7 years since the time I've been here. That's for sure.
Oh, girl, I tell you, I'm right there with you. So let me ask you this, because I don't know this for sure. Did you guys have a TMS prior to that you were changing from as you went to MercuryGate, or did you go from no TMS to MercuryGate?
We did have a TMS that we used, and again, technology years is almost like dog years, right?
Right.
It was server based. Every week it did a reboot. We had to go downstairs. Somebody was in charge of pushing the button every week to restart it. One of the guys I work with, he's like, it's like pushing the button on, was it Lost? Was that the show?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I had to push the button to save the island every week. So that was kind of a running joke with that. So not having to push the button is so everybody can get to work is really a bonus.
That's hilarious.
But we did have, and it worked for us for what we needed at the time, but definitely in order to grow like we started to and we're projecting to, we just needed to, kind of grow up in our service. So.
And you can be honest because, like I mentioned, it is painful for most. How was that transition in the implementation process? How did you work with as a team? And, we added some support, but tell us a little bit about the implementation process, because I think for the listeners, we don't have to put roses on everything. Right. Some things are just difficult and you get, buckle right down through it.
Grind your way through.
Right. So let us know a little bit about the implementation process.
So I'm thinking back on it now, I didn't find it to be any more difficult than, some of the other, changeover in systems that somebody may, encounter. It seemed like it was very kind of systematic, bringing over our carrier network from our previous system, because obviously we can't run if we don't have carriers. So, bringing that over, we went from, our previous TMS had the accounting portion built in. So getting that connection between the TMS, the new TMS, and getting it connected with, our accounting software, that was probably our biggest hurdle, just to make sure that everything was flowing correctly. Customer integration, that seemed fairly easy. I mean, it was almost like we could send a spreadsheet of all the data that we had, and the next thing we knew, it was in our MercuryGate environment. So, for that part, I think it went fairly easy. And then it's just, learning curve.
Right.
We're used to a certain process, and how does that process translate into the new system? So, the actual physical transition, I think, went fairly well. Then, like I said, it was just kind of the learning curve to understand, just the tasks involved with that.
Well, it sounds like you manage the expectations of your teams well, because I think what we see a lot is, nobody likes change, right? I mean, I don't like change.
Correct.
Correct. And so it's one of those things where it may be the best thing and it's going to be all great and wonderful, but even the best thing and great and wonderful, you get these anxieties if you have to change your daily process and what you do and what you're comfortable and familiar with. So, to hear that the implementation, yes, it was tough, but it kind of went through a process that was adaptable. Sounds like you managed the expectations with the team well when you were rolling it out.
Yeah, and I think at the time, whenever we were looking at it, MercuryGate support staff was willing to do kind of a demo for our entire staff at the time. So it was even before go live, they had an opportunity to see it, to walk through what that process looked like. And, you heard a lot of, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? But then you also heard a lot of, that's cool. That looks much better. So yeah, I think definitely managing expectations is very important in that space. Understanding that there's definitely going to be hurdles and we're all in the same boat. We'll get through it. But the end of the day and the end result is, intended to be better than where we were before. So.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, because you've worked with us for a long time now, sounds like about a little over 4 years.
Yeah.
We're a certified MercuryGate reseller, integrator, and support provider. And one of the things that, as you talk through the implementation process and just ongoing support, what does having a partner like InTek, how does that seem to help? Or, I mean, what benefit does that provide you, Rachel, on a day-to-day basis as you're working with the system?
I will say, I don't know if I can mention her by name, but I will say having Jennifer as my go-to person has been a tremendous help.
Excellent. Yes, you can mention her.
Yep.
She'll be glowing.
We'll take the shout out.
And Tracy too. I know they work closely together, and I know Tracy, coming from MercuryGate, has brought a different insight. Kind of from back behind the curtain. Yeah. But they have been great in any kind of, can the system do this? Can the system do that? Or I'm looking for this. How do I do it? And I kind of comparing that to what our previous TMS system, it was, you could call somebody, you were in a queue and, trying to get somebody actually on the phone. Then they put in a support ticket. Then they may get back to you. And, and just the responsiveness of the InTek support, I've been very happy with. And having kind of the knowledge of, we are capable to integrate with this. Example of kind of in the accounting scope is when we were first looking into MercuryGate, our previous system, we were scanning in paper carrier information, their invoices, their BOLs, and having to do a lot of manual process on that. And, bringing in MercuryGate, it's like, oh, well, we could integrate this system and you have the carriers email it, and it's a lot more hands off, and you just have to review it and say, okay. So having somebody that can help, I guess, kind of guide us to, ways of more efficiency, that speaks volumes for me.
So 4 years in, you mentioned how technology changes all the time. So if you were on a server base before, then you're sort of stagnating a little bit in terms of that technology. But now with the cloud base, how has that been different in terms of seeing, hearing about something and then having that sort of integrate into what you're already doing on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think definitely having the support to, the support staff to help get that integration actually facilitated, that knows the system and knows what its capability is. With the server system, it was, we're kind of relying on guidance and step by step of do this, and walking us through how to, make any updates or changes or anything. And it just seems like on the cloud base, everything just moves so much easier.
That jumps out at me, Rachel. So one of the things that I don't know, it feels like it's just part of life now. But as we think about it, from the server base to the cloud base, what are your thoughts on how that was able to enable you when the pandemic hit and everybody had to send everybody home?
There were times that we didn't send a lot of people home during COVID. We're kind of spread out enough that we were able to kind of keep safe distancing. But when somebody got it, they had the capacity to still be able to do their job from home if they felt like it, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how we would have been able to manage it. The server isn't accessed outside of here. So it would have been very difficult for sure. So having that, or, even if somebody needs to work on a weekend or something, or if they're, away, but something comes up, having that.
And that never happens in freight, right?
Never. Having the ability to log in from your phone or log in, from a laptop or something, just having that just helps us service our customers better, really, without them realizing that there was anything going on, or somebody was in the office, or if, they were sitting 500 miles away or something like that. So it's definitely been able to help us better serve our customers.
So the last couple of years, the industry in general has been a little slow after, the opposite for a couple of years before that. But PFL in particular has continued growing. I know this is you're 4 years in a row now on the Inc. 5000, which is the fastest growing private companies in the country. So you're doing a few things right. How has the TMS helped, and do you have any other secrets that aren't too proprietary to share with the listeners?
I'll have to give a lot of props to our president and CEO. Dylan does, he is always trying to find customers himself outside of even our sales team, and find ways that, we can help them. And that kind of goes along with our goal with having our branded companies as Rex and companies. We may have a warehouse customer, and then it's like, oh, we can take care of your freight. Oh, you have local loads. We have a carrier that can help you with that, or we can broker it out if it's outside of our service area. So, kind of having that growth mindset when he's looking at customers, and when our sales team is looking at customers, and the TMS is able to. I don't know that we'd be able to do this without having the services or the integrations really that MercuryGate has us able to do. One of the things we're working on right now is developing out our LTL side of business. And we've brought in the SMC3 platform integration. So, that in of itself, to be able to basically one click and get, quotes from all of your LTL carriers, just the efficiency of that makes us better. And again, whenever we're looking at customers, the system allows us to customize even down to the rate con that we send out to a carrier. Without having to make it a global change, we can do it just within that customer's environment. And again, doesn't really truly affect the overall workflow. So I think having some of those systems in place, along with, just the vision of Dylan, that's what helps us keep moving forward.
So you obviously, when you're looking at a TMS, you're looking at certain things that that you need to have to. That's why you select it, because it can do XYZ things that you need to do day to day. Have there been things since you've had it that have surprised you that, oh, wow, I could do this with this? I didn't even think I needed it, but now it's giving our company a whole new efficiency.
I will say I've been working on this week and just building reports out of the system. I mean, it's always great to kind of have I want to say canned reports or the general reports. You want to know what your profits are and what your margins are, how many customers you served, how many loads you've ran, that sort of thing. But, there's so much data in the system that you could build any kind of report that you want to. And having the ability to assimilate that, and then, what do we do with it from there? That's been fairly exciting to me this past week, to be honest. Like, oh my goodness, we could do this, and then that'll help them take care of this. And, it's kind of our sales team sometimes, their goal is obviously get the load delivered, but there's some tasks that have to be done, to help out the back end of everything. And, it's like, okay, well, I could take this report and send it to, Tom and Joe, and they can help take care of this. And then it just helps the whole team work better. So I feel like I'm finding new things all the time that the system allows us to do, or, we find ways to make things more efficient.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, Rachel, because a lot of times everybody's thinking TMS on the execution side of things, right? But they don't really stretch to think about the data analytics you can get out of a TMS. But, as you talk about it, you really can't get the efficiencies of the data analytics until you have the data in the system for a while. Right. And then it becomes invaluable to you as far as, forecasting and how you're going to kind of manage what's to come and the growth. So I think it's fantastic that you're jumping into all the reporting aspects that the TMS offers, not only just, like you mentioned, the canned reports, but the edge reporting, the, intelligence reporting, there's all kinds of opportunities with the TMS. So are you guys utilizing all of the aspects of the reporting of the system, or are there still some that you're looking to tap into?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I feel like I'm, again, always finding, either new ways to pull reports or, new ways to put different data points together that's giving us a different look on things. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine that I've probably even scratched the surface myself on the capabilities of reporting, but definitely learning more of, I could build this report, and then, like you said, using Edge to be able to consolidate some of it, to piece some of it together, to take it a step further. It's definitely something that I kind of get excited about doing, if I'm being honest.
That's great.
Just to be able to pull it. And again, it's like, okay, I have this. What can I do with it? Or what other information do we need to go with this? So
that's awesome.
I'm pretty sure I probably really haven't scratched the surface yet, but I'm getting there.
Well, you really, with the reporting, have segued into the next question I had. We talked about AI with our guest in our last episode, Bart DeMonk, and AI in logistics particularly, and the modern TMS is using AI. And one of the ways they use it is in that reporting. When you input the data, you talked about forecasting, things like that. So you're seeing that, obviously, in the reporting in some ways. Do you see any other areas where AI is impacting your day-to-day business?
I would probably go in the scope of we do and don't realize it.
Yeah.
We haven't directly gone out and sought AI to bring in, but I know there's different resources that we use, especially like in carrier vetting, that is using AI to, kind of help weed out some fraudulent carriers. It's able to kind of assess address doesn't look right for this, or, take note of, this company has associated carriers with it, you may want to take care of that. So On an indirect basis, I could definitely see some of the AI coming in. I guess like with all technology, you kind of have a curve of those who run out to grab it first thing as soon as it comes out. And then you have those who kind of, come in later on when it's kind of, broken in a little bit, maybe some more bugs or kinks are worked out. And then you have the ones that, are on the end of the scale that may come in after the height of it. And I'd say that we're kind of in the middle. We definitely want to kind of evaluate what it can offer and how it may help us, but we haven't fully dived into anything that's a direct, I guess, integration or implementation of an AI source. So most of it's all an indirect evidence of it.
Mm-hmm. How about, one of the areas that has sort of seen some level of AI implementation, even going back a little bit further in the industry, has been warehousing. Is that something that the warehousing arm has seen some of that warehouse automation, integrate in there?
We are definitely trying to get some more automation in there, not so much on our staffing. I was listening to the podcast from your previous podcast about AI and did hear him talk about, trying to using more of the AI and robots to kind of backfill the staffing because it's hard to find the staff to do it.
Yeah.
Not so much replacing, but, trying to fulfill that need. We definitely haven't got to that point yet, but just within our systems itself, trying to automate some of the, customer integrations and that sort of thing. That's probably where we're seeing it the most.
Yeah, take away at least, just make the job easier, basically, for the employees who are there.
Definitely brings in, some more efficiencies and that sort of thing. So
back to the TMS overall, I don't know if you have an elevator pitch or anything for somebody who's sort of thinking about it. Maybe they have an older TMS, maybe they still like the Excel spreadsheets and scanning things and printing out reams of paper every day. Is there anything in particular that you would say to somebody that's on the fence?
I would say to take a high level look, where are they spending their time and what is their business focus? If they're spending more time kind of where we were on our previous TMS, if we're spending more time in the system upgrades and just kind of the physical maintenance of systems versus, what our jobs or what our company, mission is, I think that's definitely something to take into consideration. Are you doing what you're setting out to do as a company? Are you, for us, are we busy booking loads, getting loads from customers, or are we busy doing the systems part of it? Are we having to update a spreadsheet? Are we having to, continuously do updates or upgrades on a system versus, again, spending that time focusing on what your company wants to do? To me, that's kind of what that pivot point is. If you're spending more time in I'll just say kind of like in the administrative part of it, versus spending your focus on doing what you set out to do, then yeah, it's maybe time to take a look at, something that's going to help move you in the direction that you set out to go.
Great. So where can people find out more about PFL Logistics and Rex & Companies?
Yeah, we obviously have our websites, everything encompassed at rexandcompanies.com. We're on social media. You could find us on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram, and then PFL Logistics is, they have their own site as well, pfllogisticsusa.com. But that kind of tells us, tells everybody where we came from and what we got going on. And rexandcompanies.com obviously will kind of give you the overview of our supply chain network of companies and tells our story.
Great, Rachel. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel.
Great. Thanks again for having me. It's nice to talk to you guys.
Thanks for joining us for InTek Freight and Logistics, the podcast. And another thank you to Rachel Johnson for taking the time to speak with us. Check out the links in the description to learn more about everything we discussed. Subscribe or follow now to ensure you get our latest episodes as soon as they're available. And you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen. If you have questions, email us at podcast@intechlogistics.com and visit intechfreight-logistics.com for more about what we do. For Shelley Austin, I'm Kevin Baxter. We'll talk to you next time.